Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is Tuesday morning, and so I just wanted to get on here as I just got out prayer, and I wanted to read the story called Wounded for a Purpose. We're still reading the story out of Unraveling the Layers, Memoirs of a Wounded Soul. I got some really good feedback from Leah Freeman's story. And so today we're talking about the broken lamp. Remember, she had found a box dated 1972. And I believe when we left off, bitterness had entered her heart. But this is Broken Lamp 1993. Whew, this is starting to be too much. Maybe I should just close this box and forget the rest of the items in there. Remembering all of this might not be good for me. Could it? Look further, I heard in my spirit. A funny shaped package labeled 1993 was inside. Inside was a broken lamp. As I set it on the floor to look at it better, my mind took me back to one of my old homes. I had come home suddenly from work because my stomach wouldn't stop bothering me. I had just gotten married 3 weeks before and found out that my husband had a baby born 3 days after the wedding with his supposed cousin. My God. I was standing at the door to the house, and all I could think of was, why is this music so loud? Boom, 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 boom. The bass from one of R. Carey's love ballads is bursting through the door. But why? My husband is homesick, so there shouldn't be any music. I slid my key into the lock, swung the door open, and peered into the living room. Nobody. I started to call it to my husband, but intuition clutched my throat. I tiptoed to the room instead and peeked through the crack in my door. I couldn't believe my eyes. My first cousin is rocking back and forth, engaged in the love dance with the man who gave me his name. I burst into the room and grabbed the first thing I saw, the lamp, and I swung it and I swung it and I swung it until my arm gave out, but the fracture in my heart got larger. Talking about snapped. I wailed on his body with everything I can get my hands on. And let's not talk about my so-called cousin. What cousin? I snatched her clothes and forced her out of my house naked to show her shame to the world, not caring that she was family. My heart told me that family didn't hurt you like that. I counseled her to forget love. The next few weeks were a blur as I went about getting my marriage annulled and isolated myself from the world, all the while not acknowledging God. Forget God. I mean, why not? He was love. And love hadn't done anything but hurt me. I decided right then that love wouldn't live here anymore. Coins in a jar, 1994. Now I was mad. I snatched out the next package marked 1994, and it jiggled. Change and a few dollar bills? Now that's funny. Why would I pack this? Oh, I get it. If it didn't make dollars, it didn't make sense. I laughed super hard at that one, but I wouldn't be laughing for long. The memories attached to this package were a hard taskmaster because that is when I became addicted to money. I started to sell large amounts of drugs and working to conceal profits. I met the father of my 2 youngest children during that time. He was fresh out of federal prison after doing 13 years and was 11 years my senior. I saw him as just a friend and a connection to get product. Nothing more, nothing less. However, he was immediately infatuated. He wanted me, and he was determined to have me, but I was not having none of it. Naturally, due to the line of business that I was in, most of my friends were male, so we would hang out at my house, and the bulk of the time playing dominoes, and I would cook food. KW came over to my house with a couple of the guys and started flirting with me as usual. I kept ignoring him because a family member had just informed me that he was dealing with a god sister of mine. No way would I touch him with a 10-foot pole. The game shifted from dominoes to cards, and people were starting to leave. And my mom came over to grab some clothes for the kids. My mom happened to look over and see that KW was there. She snatched me in her room, and I could tell that she was upset. "Why is he here?" she asked. "Your god sister is so upset that you are sleeping with him." "Why would you do that to her?" "Sleeping with him," I said. "I'm not sleeping with him." "Where did she get that from?" "If I was sleeping with him, everybody would know. Everybody would know it because I wouldn't have to hustle so hard." Another blow from the enemy, pride. As time went on, and I was accused more and more of being with him, I purposed in my heart to show them just what I was made of. One night, KW stayed behind after all the others left. He sat at the table as I washed dishes and cleaned up, all the while telling me how much he wanted to be with me. I finished the dishes, leaned up against the sink, dried my hands, looked at him, and kind of sized him up. He was tall, dark, chocolate, dressed well, smelled amazing, knew how to spend money on a husband. His conversation wasn't all that, and he lost my attention. But all in all, he was not that bad. Plus, everybody was already accusing me of being with him, so why not? That night, I made a decision, one that would sincerely change the course of my life in ways that I could never imagine. If I had known that I was stepping into, or what I was stepping into, I would have made sure that I never messed with the likes of KW. KW was a flashy guy. He wore all the latest fashions and drove nice cars. He lavished money on me and had no problem showing me off to his family and friends. Sounds perfect, huh? But not quite. KW was trouble wrapped in a pretty package. I started to notice right away that he had a little issue with control and jealousy. He always needed to know where I was going, who I was going with, and what I was wearing. When I got home, he would be sitting in the driveway, only to drive off once I arrived so he could confirm that I had arrived. Y'all, I'm sorry. I've been through this. Around this time, I was selling more drugs. So money was good, and he didn't like that. He wanted me to depend solely on him. 6 weeks into the situationship, I had another gathering at my house. I didn't run it past KW since it was my house. He didn't live here, and hey, he wasn't kicking in like that. About a half an hour into the gathering, KW called to say he was in front of my front gate, unannounced again. I buzzed him into the complex, let him into the apartment, and continuing having fun. He was livid. He was so upset that he couldn't sit down. I know, looking back, that his reaction should have concerned me, but I was young and not paying attention to the signs. I handed him a drink, hoping he would mellow out and hopefully have some fun. He did, but not the way I thought. As the night wore on and things wound down and everyone was leaving, he decided to make an announcement. He told the group that we were expecting a baby. I tripped out. What? Why was he lying like that? He know that we always use condoms. I knew that I was very fertile and I had just started birth control. So I took some extra precautions to protect myself. Now it was my turn to be mad. Everybody was congratulating us, but he just sat there with a smug look on his face as I glared at him. I couldn't believe what I was experiencing. This was too much. I knew right then that I had to leave him alone, but I knew that I wouldn't if I was pregnant. I couldn't wait until the last person left. As soon as they did, I exploded. What is all that about? He smirked at me and said, I poked holes in the condom. Get ready to be a mommy. I was flabbergasted. I felt so struck and betrayed. How could he do this to me? Life was rough for the next several months. While I was pregnant with my third child, and now everything that I didn't like in a man started to surface. He drank all the time. He had no ambition. He refused to get a job. He was possessive, and we had nothing in common. Oh, and to make things worse, he had another child by another woman a couple of months before my son was born. Then the money dried up. I found out that was because he was getting his funds from the other woman until she found out about me, and now he was my problem. All of the clothes, all of the jewelry, fancy dinners, and trips were over. Although I refused to allow him to move in with me, I felt trapped. The enemy hit me hard with this one. Financial obligations was the next blow. Money was good. I thought life was good. I was moving large amounts of product and none of the neighborhood guys could compete. We were living high on a hog and my babies wanted for nothing. In the 7th month of pregnancy, I woke up to silence. Normally, silence is a good thing, but it was eerily quiet in my apartment. I laid there for a moment, glanced over at my clock, and then eased out of my bed. It was when I started walking to the bathroom that I started hearing noises from the apartment next door. That was strange because nobody lived there, but maybe the landlord was showing it to someone. I turned on the faucet to wash my face, and when no water came out, it hit me like a ton of bricks. They were here to raid me. Ooh. I could hear them through the wall talking about they had the wrong apartment, and I knew it was only a matter of time before they figured it out. Shock waves flowed through my body and I trembled. I had a huge amount of cocaine in my house, and I knew for certain that I would lose my babies. I cried out to God silently through my tears, please God, don't let me lose my babies, and I won't sell drugs ever again. They didn't deserve to suffer for my choices. Once again, he heard me, and I moved on to the next part of my life without looking back. My second son was born in September of the year, but I was miserable. I had exchanged my illegal activities in for a couple of legal jobs, but it was still destructive profit since I worked around the clock. I was exhausted, so I barely saw my children during that time. It was crazy how deeply I could feel these emotions. I actually experienced those moments as if I were 22 all over again. I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders and I couldn't push it off. Sighing heavily, I looked down at the old broken lamp and it matched my spirit perfectly. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop on this one. So we have just read about how there was a broken lamp that she beat her husband that she had just married 3 weeks prior for having an affair with her cousin. Okay. Then she got with somebody that was a drug dealer because they were already accusing her. She had these little coins in a jar because she said money was what she was stuck on. And if it didn't make dollars, it didn't make sense. And she started selling a lot of drugs. But if we remember, this is the third time that God had kept her from being in harm's way. He prevented her from dying after the almost drug overdose. He kept the authorities from coming to her house. They went to the wrong house. So the hand of God was truly on her. This story is something else. I don't know. Let me see. I'm looking to see. Oh my goodness. This is a long story, you guys. I probably will. I'll probably finish. I don't know. This story is probably going to go on for another couple of days. Okay, go ahead and put in the comments what you feel about this story. I did have one person really tell me, so this young lady, that this was an interesting story. So this young lady experienced bitterness. She experienced greed, pride. She was dealing with people that had no determination. This is crazy. This is crazy. But this is what the enemy does to you. He makes you think that, she experienced isolation, resentment. So many things that she experienced. So many things. Go ahead and put in the comments what you feel about this. I'll be coming back on tomorrow with a cracked mirror. Or maybe at 12 midnight my time. That's what I did. I go ahead and schedule them to come out. But I will be finishing up this story. This story is Wounded for a Purpose, and we are on the next part. The next part going into the story will be The Cracked Mirror, and that's in 1996. So we are getting up here to the 2000s, you guys, because I'm quite sure that she's probably going to take us, I'm looking at it, take us up here to the current year. Remember, this is a book called Unraveling the Layers, Memoirs of a Wounded Soul. It's an anthology, and it's created to encourage women from healing from their past. It's from women from all walks of life, courageously sharing their stories of pain, heartache, and shame and abuse. Sorry about all the noise in the background. You all be blessed and be encouraged. God bless you, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye-bye.